Q13 Fox Seattle, this is Mission Control Houston. Please call station for a voice check. Please call station for a voice check.
Station, this is Field. How do you hear me? Station, this is Travis. Station, this is Travis.
And I have you loud and clear. Hello from the International Space Station.
Exciting to get to talk to you. We're going to be on the air here in just a couple of minutes. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. It is great to talk to you as well.
Joined by a very special guest, Anne McClain from Spokane, Washington. She is live aboard the International Space Station. There is a bit of a delay as we talk, so just bear with us. But in the meantime, thank you very much for being with us. What's it like to be up there? What a dream come true for you.
Well, you said it best. It is absolutely a dream come true. You know, every day is the intersection of the magical and the technical. Our jobs require a lot of focus, a lot of heads down, detailed work, but there's always moments throughout every day that you step back and you realize, you know, we're working off the planet in microgravity in one of the most unforgiving environments known to mankind. It's really incredible.
You literally grew up and told people, I am going to be an astronaut someday, and you went to G-Prep, and then you continued on in your military career, and now you're in space. That's an incredible and powerful message.
Yes, from the time I was about 3 years old, the first time I said I wanted to be an astronaut. As you said, I grew up in Spokane, Washington. You know, most of my family's from the Seattle area, so I know that well. We spent a lot of summers and weekends over in the Seattle area. And it was just always a dream that was nurtured by the amazing facilities and museums and science centers that we have in the Northwest.
Tell us about some of the work that you are accomplishing right now on your mission.
Well, you know, this is a really busy time on this expedition. We just had 2 new crewmates show up a couple days ago, and we are hitting the ground not just running but sprinting as this Friday and a week from Friday. We have a couple of spacewalks, and then we have a 3rd spacewalk about a week after that. And so we are really heads down and preparing for those events. As you can imagine, there's a lot of studying, a lot of coordination that we have to do, as well getting the new crew just used to living in space. And so it is a very busy time up here on Space Station.
You mentioned running, rugby, a huge part of your life, playing on the U.S. women's national team, among others. Did rugby prepare you to be an astronaut, and if so, in what ways?
Yeah, I tell you, kindergarten and rugby, you know, some essential life skills for being an astronaut. You know, one of the things that rugby really teaches you is how to push past your limits, or what you thought were your limits. They take you really to the limit of physical and mental exhaustion. And in a rugby match, the people that can overcome physical and mental exhaustion in the last 20 minutes and perform are the ones who are successful. For us, I mentioned we're doing spacewalks coming up. Our training on the ground is very intense for these spacewalks. They also take you to the point of physical and mental exhaustion. And I learned in rugby that those are the moments that when your body gets the most physically tired, you actually have to be more deliberate about your thought processes, because that is when you will make mistakes. And it's that combining the mental clarity with the physical exhaustion that it really came in handy as I trained for these spacewalks, and I think on Friday will come in handy again.
Are you excited? I mean, you have to be excited about this spacewalk. I mean, not to mention historic as well. There are so many women who are involved in this project right now. I mean, it's like first after first after first. It's just amazing what you're doing.
Yeah, I definitely am aware of that. But as I mentioned, we are so heads down in the details right now. I think our focus is really on the technicalities of this spacewalk. There's a lot of responsibilities placed on our shoulders. And our primary focus right now is just to keep our heads down. And I think, when all is said and done and we can call it a successful day, then we can step back and kind of look at the bigger picture. But right now, we're really trying to stay focused.
I want to ask you a personal question. I have a 5-year-old daughter who is obsessed with space at this moment. I read her space books. She identifies planets. We put together solar system puzzles. You have, I believe, a 5-year-old. What's it like being away from your 5-year-old? And what example are you hoping to set for your 5-year-old and my 5-year-old?
Yeah, I tell you what, being away from our families is by far the hardest part of this space flight. And something that I've really come to realize on a personal level is that every great accomplishment throughout history, whether it's, trekking across Antarctica, climbing Mount Everest, getting in a boat and discovering new lands in early exploration, all of those great accomplishments are preceded by very heartbreaking goodbyes. And it's tougher on the families a lot of times. However, what I hope to teach all young kids is that all of these accomplishments are worthwhile and the sacrifices are worthwhile. The sacrifices that we make day to day, that's what it takes to accomplish a mission. You can't stay in your comfort zone and and not make those sacrifices to get where you want to get. So what I'm hoping is that my son and other kids see that it does take work ethic. It takes early mornings, it takes late nights, it takes time away from home and loved ones in order to be in this position. And those are the sacrifices you have to be willing to make.
Anne McClain from Spokane, we're proud of you. Keep up the great work. Keep us posted. When you get back to Earth, we would love to have you in the studio. Thank you very much for talking to us from space.
Thank you very much, and hello to everybody in the Great Northwest.
Station, this is Maddie Dolan. How do you hear me?
I have you loud and clear. Welcome aboard the International Space Station.
Glad to be aboard. Thank you so much for letting us speak with you today. On behalf of Military Families and Reserve and National Guard magazines, we have some questions for you. The first one is, how do you stay connected and in touch with your family and son while in space?
I'm blessed to have done this mission at a time when technology is really good. We are very connected. If anything, we're even closer to the satellites here than we are on Earth. So we can communicate with our families on the telephone, video chats, emails. So we feel very connected to the ground. A lot of people ask what it's like to be up here in isolation, and we don't really think about being in isolation, to be honest. We feel very connected to Earth.
That's great. With such an extensive resume in the Army and now with NASA, how are you able to balance achieving career dreams and raising a family?
Sometimes balance can't be achieved. There are hard early mornings. There's time away from home, and the biggest thing that I can say is having a supportive family is really critical, and one that understands the sacrifices. And then, when we get the opportunity to give back to our spouses and kids and families, then we absolutely have to. And I think that much like the military, the hardest job is on our families. I don't know that I could watch my loved one get on a rocket and blast off to space, and that's what I asked of my loved ones. And it was much like when I deployed to Iraq. I don't know, how I could let my spouse walk out the door on a deployment. It's so hard. It's so much harder on the families. And so I think everybody just needs to be understanding of that. And I learned a lot in the military about how to strike those balances and have those hard conversations, which has really come in handy for, this type of mission.
What was the biggest obstacle you had when reaching your ultimate goal of being an astronaut, and how did you overcome it?
there's no one huge obstacle that sticks out. I really think back to a lot of more difficult times that I had, and trying to figure out the right answer between, I loved my Army career. It's what I'd still be doing today if this opportunity hadn't come along. And so perhaps leaving, I'm still active duty Army, but leaving the day-to-day Army, the operational Army, was extremely difficult for me. A dream like this one, becoming an astronaut, it is, one of the most difficult things is that you don't have the ultimate say. Ultimately, my dream was in the hands of a selection board. It wasn't, I couldn't just train harder or get a better grade and then knew that was going to guarantee a slot. At some point I had to, this was in somebody else's hands. So it's kind of a dream that's out of your control. And that may or may not happen. And so there's a lot of balancing and choosing what sacrifices are worth it, and staying true to yourself and making sure that you're having a career that you're passionate about, and staying true to my soldiers, knowing that they knew that they had 100% of me at all times. And so, striking those balances over a long career was probably the day-to-day the most challenging part.
What's your piece of advice that you would give to active duty or military families in achieving their goals?
A couple things. I tell adults, just like kids, you can't give up. You have to believe that this dream could come true. I think throughout my career, I always thought, 5, 7, 8 years down the road, I always had a roadmap of where I was going. And I tell young soldiers all the time, you have to drive your career, and the Army is going to make choices for you. The Army took me off the path that I envisioned for myself due to the needs of the Army, and wherever I ended up, always ended up being exactly where I needed to be. And so you got to drive, you got to lay out that roadmap. But when you get a curveball, you get a different duty station, you get a different job title than you thought was what you wanted. You do your absolute best in the job. There is no job in the Army that is not worth your absolute best effort. And some of my favorite jobs in the military or in the Army were jobs that I never expected to have. But our soldiers depend on us leaders giving 100% of ourselves. And you have to do that in every job that you're in. But you do have to keep the long-range view, 7, 8 years out. Where do you want to be? Where are you going? And never self-eliminate. Never make decisions that are going to take those future options off the table.
Back to our space questions. What was the most challenging part of the training to prepare for this mission?
The two things that stick out as the most challenging was switching from very different tasks day to day. You have to learn how to juggle a lot of different tasks. For instance, learning a foreign language, learning Russian. Doing that one day, and then the next day you are in the neutral buoyancy lab training in a spacesuit, which is testing you to your physical limits. And then the next day you are taking an exam on orbital mechanics. And so really just being able to manage a wide variety of information and maintain proficiency in a wide variety of areas is challenging. Probably the single most challenging peak is doing the spacesuit training in the neutral buoyancy lab, because it takes you not only to physical exhaustion but mental exhaustion. But it is absolutely the right training for spacewalks, because it is the same thing when we do them on the real day.
Great. Well, we all want to end this interview on one cool question. What is the coolest thing about being in space?
I gotta say floating. I mean, it's kind of the obvious answer, I suppose, but it really doesn't get old, and everything really is better when you're floating, and you just can't help but laugh. The new crew showed up a couple days ago, and it is so special to watch them in their first couple days and remember how it felt to us. And I can tell you, we've been here for about 105 days, and I still wake up in the morning and I can't believe I'm floating down to get my breakfast. It's just something that doesn't get old, and you just hope you never forget what it feels like when you go home.
Well, thank you so much, Ms. McClain. It has been such an honor. Thank you for serving our country.
Thank you. It was great to talk to you today.
Thank you, Q13 Fox Seattle and AmeriForce Station. We're now resuming operational audio communications.